Ahsoka Season 1 is over, and I wanted to give my thoughts on the finale and the show overall. Did Dave Filoni save Star Wars, or is this more of the same under Disney Star Wars? Let's break it all down. So my thoughts on Ahsoka overall are kind of complicated, and so are my thoughts on the final episode. So I want to start by talking about the finale. This was not the best episode of the series, nor was it my favorite, but I really did like it, and I do absolutely love what this finale sets up for the future. The episode is ultimately really about Thrawn versus Ahsoka, and Thrawn wins. And I really like this overall idea for the finale and kind of for the last two episodes in general. Thrawn now understands that Ahsoka is the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker. He knows that she could probably accomplish the impossible. There's even a cool moment in the finale where they show how far away Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra are from the catacombs. And Thrawn basically says it would be almost impossible for them to make it now, so we better prepare, because that's Anakin Skywalker's apprentice. And he throws absolutely everything he can at Ahsoka and Ezra and Sabine, but he also recognizes and knows that she's going to find a way to overcome all of these different obstacles. And so just like before, he's simply trying to slow her down. And that overall idea and plot works for me. I think it's really freaking cool. And I also think it's bold and awesome that Thrawn wins. Now, this is something that leaked out a long time ago. It's something we had been talking about, but it was still cool to see in action. Thrawn won, dude. He's now back in the known galaxy. He's on Dathomir with a ton of crazy, weird Night Sister stuff going on. And he seems all about the Empire still. He's all about the Empire and the security of their galaxy. And there's a lot of little stuff that I love about the episode, too. Like, I absolutely love Ezra building the lightsaber with Huang. I love that Huang talks to Ezra about his master Kanan, aka Caleb Dune. He literally gets the same piece that was given to Kanan to build the lightsaber, and now Ezra has a Kanan-inspired lightsaber. It's absolutely fantastic. I thought the stuff they did with the Night Sisters and with Morgan Elsbeth was really damn cool, going full-on magic this episode, summoning her the Sword of Mother Talzin, giving her some kind of additional powers, and the Night Sisters themselves doing the magic to bring those Night Troopers back to life and the whole zombie thing. It was really freaking cool. There's a lot of fun stuff going on there. And I absolutely love the way that it ended with Sabine and Ahsoka being stuck on Peridia. Baylan and Shin are also there, and Baylan is standing on massive sculptures of the Mortis gods, looking ahead at something which I still absolutely believe is Abeloth. Oh, and by the way, I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that it's Abeloth, and I'm going to do a massive video about that, which should drop tomorrow. But there's plenty of rough edges here in this finale, stuff that I wish was done a little bit better. The pacing itself is a little bit weird. I think some of the action sequences with our main heroes fighting against the Night Troopers was not exactly super clean. And this is ultimately something that I have issue with the show overall. A lot of the lightsaber fighting needs to be better, and I think it will improve going from here, but I still have to mark it points. I mean, it's just not as good as I expected it to be, not as good as I think it can be. And ultimately, Thrawn, even though he does win, doesn't really do so with any sort of masterful stroke of strategy, and I get what he's doing, and I get what they're setting up in the show for Grand Admiral Thrawn, but as a fan of the character who has seen him do absolutely incredible things and have these mind-blowing reveals, the use of Thrawn and his tactical mind in the Ahsoka show was just not up to snuff. It wasn't good enough for me, and I have to mark the episode points for that as well. I can also absolutely empathize with Star Wars fans that feel like this finale didn't really close any major arcs and does nothing but set up more questions and mysteries for future content. And I'm personally kind of okay with it because I love where this is going. I think I can see where it's going, and it's really intriguing. But it is the case that the Ahsoka show doesn't really close any of these major arcs, I guess, other than Sabine using the Force, which is controversial in its own right, and we're going to talk about that in other videos and streams. But my point is that this doesn't just give us a definitive closing of any particular arc or thing that is going on. And I feel like Dave's imagination and what he wants to springboard out of Ahsoka with is sort of hindering the ability for the show itself to close particular character arcs. I mean, you could argue that Ahsoka closes her own arc with her guilt of being trained by Anakin, but that happens in like episode 5 and 6. It doesn't happen at the end of the series. I suppose you could say Ezra does finally come home, and that's cool, and it closes that arc, but he's probably going to come back to Peridea and try to rescue his friends, and it's not even super clear what Thrawn is going to do from here and how the galaxy should respond. So there's a lot of mystery here. And again, I can totally understand why some Star Wars fans are like, that's not a good finale, that's not a good first season, because it doesn't close any arcs. We're not actually progressing in a way that feels right for an actual show. But again, having said that, I do like the finale. I think it serves its purpose, and its purpose really is to just set up a ton of different stuff. And so it does more setup than it does closing of loops or arcs. And, you know, maybe you feel differently about that. I'm into it just because I'm so excited for where I think this is going. But now I want to talk about the show overall, because this show is so interesting because, you know, it dipped in viewership in the second week. I think that viewership number will go back up because I think, you know, episodes 4 through 6 are very strong, the strongest of the season, and it will probably get a lot of views and perform well because of that. But I am curious how the numbers will look for the final 2 episodes, because there's not a lot in the 7th episode, and the 8th episode does cause a lot of discussions, but the episode itself isn't one of the stronger episodes, right? So it's kind of mysterious, and I guess we'll know in a matter of weeks and months how the show actually succeeded with its viewership numbers. From the perspective of a hardcore Star Wars fan, I would call this show a success. It's really reinvigorated a lot of Star Wars fans, and I've had a blast covering this show. The discussions, the theories, the streams. We've just had so much fun actually talking about Star Wars again because of Star Wars content. Oftentimes, Star Wars discussion centers around politics or, you know, things outside of the content, which I think is a shame because that stuff is so divisive. Star Wars shouldn't be divisive, and it's strange that people that claim that Disney made it divisive seem to not want it to actually not be divisive, and perhaps because they benefit now from that division via making outrage content, etc., etc. So the fandom itself and fandoms in general are in a really weird spot. But Ahsoka did something that I didn't even know was possible, and that's to sort of push some of that stuff out to the side and allow the people that really, truly want to just engage with Star Wars and not have it be divisive. We had the ability and opportunity to do that, and I think that's fan-freaking-tastic. The show itself kind of reminds me of the Berserk manga. Berserk is seminal work. It is considered one of the best mangas ever, but it doesn't start out that way, and this was because the artist was basically learning a lot as they were creating Berserk. So early Berserk is not representative of the mastery that comes later, but you can still see the genius of Berserk almost immediately despite its flaws. And I feel the same way about Ahsoka. Ahsoka has a lot of flaws. There's like 3 to 4 of the episodes that I thought were like just okay, and then 4 that I thought were almost masterpieces, right? So it's like 50-50. It does some things right, it does some things wrong. There's rough edges that need sanding out, but I can still appreciate the genius of Dave Filoni's storytelling here, and I think it accomplishes stuff that nothing else under Disney besides other Filoni stuff accomplishes, and that is to truly push Star Wars forward while truly respecting the past and the lore and the mythos of Star Wars that was established by George Lucas. In some ways, it's not even this show's fault that the fandom is as divided as it is, and I think expectations from fans coming into this show, that's not on Dave either. Disney has done a terrible job of handling the brand and the franchise over the past several years. But ultimately, business is business, and there is a scenario here in which Ahsoka is not considered successful enough, or perhaps not considered different enough from a lot of stuff that's going on under Disney to really matter, to be that pivot point that I think many of us want it to be. Because I do wish that a lot of these disgruntled Star Wars fans and even haters out there would be willing to come back to Star Wars. I don't think it's impossible for that to happen. I just think it might be impossible for that to happen under Dave Filoni. And I'm not even sure what that means for Star Wars or how Disney should respond. It's like, selfishly as a fan and somebody that really resonates with the work that Dave does, I hope they give him everything. And I hope he's in charge of everything at some level moving forward. And I just can't wait to see more of his stuff. And I think he will get better. I think season 2 will be better. I think his movie will be better. But he does probably need more time working on his chops before he gets to that film. And I wonder if Disney will actually allow him that time to truly grow as a live action writer and director. So I don't know if I can sit here and say that Dave Filoni saved Star Wars, even though he certainly saved it for me personally. I am very curious as to how the discussions are going to go from here. We've got a lot of other Star Wars on the horizon too, between the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew and Mando season 4. So there's still a lot of voices in the Star Wars creation bullpen, or whatever you want to call it. So we'll just see how all of this shakes out. But for me personally, this is my favorite Star Wars show that they have done. I mean, Mandalorian, especially in season 2, is tighter than this show in a lot of ways, but I appreciate this show so much more. It feels so much more like true Star Wars, and it's doing something, again, that just, it seems so difficult. It seems such a challenging thing to get right, but Dave is pushing this thing forward, like really opening up our imaginations to what could be happening and how it could impact the entire mythos of Star Wars, while also respecting the hell out of what came before. The usage of Anakin in this show was fantastic. It wasn't just cameos. It had meaning behind it. And the theories and the speculation that we had. This is the fun of Star Wars that I want to have. Let me know what you think about it. We're going to be doing a stream tonight at 6 p.m. where I'm going to break down this episode and the season overall in more depth. So come on by for that if you want to. Loki season 2 begins tomorrow, so we're going to start doing coverage of that. I'm going to be doing watch parties for that as well. So come on by for that if you're interested. But above all else, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.